There's so many people. Have you tried like the boba or the boba cheese?
It's on Washington. All right, it's on Washington. At North Pass Country Club. No Pass Country Club. The road country.
Bye.
Yeah. He's heading north. All the way down. All the way down.
Hey, you have to wait now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
They can just read it long else afterwards.
I'm a, you know, or you feel Paul. I don't know. I'm sorry. This is crazy.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, this is he.
You'll watch election.
This is terrible at a
Hold his
funeral.
hand.
Trying to give somebody here. They drove all the way there. Love it.
Okay. That's all right. Yep. Right. I'm sorry. He said he was gonna be here. He said just start now. He'll catch up. He'll be here.
By the time he gets here, it'll be
We want to thank everybody for coming out to celebrate the life of Grandma, Inez Manselle, as many knew her. If you would bow your head with me for a moment of prayer. Father, we just thank you for this day that you've given us, God. We thank you that we can celebrate the life that was lived for your plans and your purposes, God. As we just gather today to lay her to rest, God, we thank you that she's with you in this moment, and that she's lived a life where I just think about your scripture where it talks about when you tell us that it was a job well done, and I definitely see that at the end of my grandmother's life. I'm thankful for the life that she lived, and I'm thankful for everybody that's come here today. We just thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Says Juanita Inez Manselle was born March 4th, 1930 in Dumas, Texas, to Irene Madeline Deaton and Arbel William Walls. She passed away Thursday, January 1st, 2026 at her home in Elk City, Oklahoma at the age of 95 years, 9 months and 28 days. Juanita, known by most as Inez, grew up in the Bridgeport and Dumas, Texas area where she graduated from high school at the age of 19. She was married to Joe Mung, where they moved all over the Midwest following the oil field. Later in life, she married Leroy Lyle Manselle, and they made their home in Oregon City, Oregon, and Sayre, Oklahoma, before his passing. Throughout her life, Inez was employed as a milkmaid, clerk at a grocery store, a caregiver in homes, and later in life as a clerk at a health food store. She enjoyed reading her Bible, newspapers, books, and going to the thrift store. One of her biggest accomplishments was writing screenplays and dramas for her youth kids at church and performing them at the church and also public schools. In her later years, she was part of a paper rolling club in the Oregon City area where they would donate all their proceeds to a local charity for prosthetic patients in 2022. Inez moved to Elk City where she lived with her cousin Carolyn Abla. In any spare time she might have had, she enjoyed playing cards, games, dominoes, and eating Mexican food. She is preceded in death by her parents, husband Roy Manselle, 3 sons, Michael Keith Mung, Wesley J. Mung, and Johnny Joseph Mung, and her 3 siblings. Inez is survived by 4 grandchildren, Shay Mung, Jason Mung, Buddy Thomas, and Charissa Mung, 18 great-grandchildren, 11 great-great-grandchildren, and a host of other relatives and friends. Okay, who was Inez to me? She was my daddy's mom, my grandma Inez. She loved family and gatherings, attending all the family reunions for the past 50 years. She didn't understand how or why she outlived everyone, but I know she has the answer now. Her best friends were Carolyn, Sue, and Katie. Katie, thank you for all the road trips. It meant the world to her. I kind of pictured y'all like Thelma and Louise. You reminded her that there is a world still out there You brought out her spunk and orneriness, and she loved to laugh. And to Carol and Sue, words can't express how much I thank you. I don't know what we would have done without you. Your love and patience is highly admired. You gave her a home and time, and in the end, Grandma considered it her home. She was lost when you wasn't around. You took amazing care of Grandma, and I know you would do it again. I know my daddy would forever be grateful to you, and so am I. I wish I could say I was her favorite, and I like to think I am. But Jason, she loved you too. Grandma loved to cook, being known for her enchiladas and no-bake cookies. She loved food. She didn't like to eat alone. She enjoyed chewing every bite, which made her a very slow eater. The ones that went to the buffet with her know this. Her and my dad would pick about, they just like to taste their food. She was a hard worker, working 2 and 3 jobs if needed. She's the one who taught me if it's worth doing or you got to do it anyways, just go ahead and do it right. She loved the scenery and found beauty in any of it. One of my favorite memories is we decided to go on a girls' trip, drive to the coast. This is when we lived in Oregon. Take some pictures and find the best looking hamburger place. She ripped her pants. That day describes a lot of Grandma to me. We giggled. It wasn't funny at first. She could get easily upset but easily forget. She loved to read, and I bet she had over 100 books for mental disease because one of her sons having paranoid schizophrenic, which shows you the mother she was. She loved the Lord, and she was a wonderful grandmother, mother, sister, daughter, friend. I am happy, sad. She will be missed, but I'm happy for her. We love you, Grandma.
Amen.
That was definitely a good tribute to her life.
Yeah, it is.
And, you know, just thinking about, it is hard to mourn when somebody's lived 95 years.
Yeah.
We're going to miss her like crazy. Yes, we will. But she lived a full life. And, you know, like Buddy said, that's one of the things she talked about often. She'd say, why did I outlive everybody? And 95 years, she just about did it. She outlived everybody for her immediate kin. She'd always ask me, why am I still here? And I said, well, the Bible's clear. It says that God ordains every day that we have, and apparently you still got some more left. So I was just thankful for the life that Grandma lived for us. And one of the things I used to always encourage her with, but she went through a lot of hard stuff, a lot of loss. She lost all of her kiddos and husbands, and there's just a lot of things she would ask me sometimes. She said, Jason, you ever been mad at God? And I said, yeah, I have. But I said, if you just talk to him about it, he'll bring you through it. That's one of the things that she's definitely shown me and instilled in my life. It didn't matter how hard it got. She was never going to give up on God. Even when she might be mad at things that were happening or what was going on, she was never going to be mad. So I had a couple of scriptures that I wanted to share this morning that I just kind of thought expressed her heart. And I'm going to go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. And I'm going to just kind of read some highlights through here as I go. But verse 1 says, now it's because of God's mercy that we have been entrusted with the privilege of this new covenant ministry, and we will not quit or faint with weariness. Verse 5, we don't preach ourselves, but rather the lordship of Jesus Christ, for we are your servants for Jesus' sake. Verse 7, we are like common clay jars that carry this glorious treasure within, so that this immeasurable power will be seen as God's, not ours. Though we experience every kind of pressure, we're not crushed. At times we don't know what to do, but quitting is not an option. We are persecuted by others, but God has not forsaken us. We may be knocked down, but not out. We continually share in the death of Jesus in our own bodies, so that the resurrection life of Jesus will be revealed through our humanity. We consider living to mean that we are constantly being handed over to death for Jesus' sake, so that the life of Jesus will be revealed through our humanity. So then, death is at work in us, but it releases life in you. We have the same spirit of faith that is described in the scriptures when it says, first I believed, then I spoke in faith. So we also first believed, then spoke in faith. We do this because we are convinced that he who raised Jesus will raise us up with him and together we will all be brought into his presence. Yes, all things work for your enrichment, so that more of God's marvelous grace will spread to more and more people, resulting in an ever increase of praise to God, bringing him even more glory. So no wonder we don't give up. For even though our outer person gradually wears out, our inner being is renewed every single day. We view our slight, short-lived troubles in the light of eternity. We see our difficulties as the substance that produces for us an eternal, weighty glory beyond all comparison, because we don't focus our attention on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but the unseen realm is eternal. You know, just thinking about, the conversations that we would have when God called me out of the workplace and out of my business and called me to preach. I think she was my biggest fan. She was really excited that I had answered that call, and she would often tell the stories about, as Buddy read the obituary, she loved to write screenplays, and she would write dramas, and as a younger woman in her life, she led youth groups, and that's where her heart was, and all the time she would tell me, "What are you doing with them kids, Jason? What are those kids going to be doing? We've got to get to the heart of the kids." And as we see in this passage, she was always focused on what was not temporary in their life, but was the eternal. She wanted to make an impact that would be an eternal impact on people's lives. And I know as my grandma, she definitely made an eternal impact on my life. I was always kind of a witty guy, so she loved to be witty. And it was funny, just the other day I was actually taking her out to Buddy's right after Christmas to spend a couple of days with her. And we were riding out there and she said, Jason, she said, "I keep forgetting a lot." I said, "Yeah, I know." And I said, "But I want you to know that you're doing pretty good, because you're forgetting, that you're remembering that you're forgetting." She kind of cocked her head sideways at me for a minute, and then she just bust out laughing. She said, "I guess you're right." And I said, "So you ain't quite as bad a shape as you think you are." But I'll always miss her wit. That's one of the things that we would always try to poke fun at each other anytime that we were around. And always over Mexican food. That's my favorite too. Yeah. But I appreciate you guys coming out and just celebrating the life that we had. She lived a long, full life. She had experiences. She would tell me stories of, she said, "Jason," and I was just talking, matter of fact, this was just the other day on the night that she passed away. We were just talking, and she said, life has changed a lot. And I said, "I can't imagine. 95 years, I can't imagine." She would often tell me stories about how the Pony Express, they would hear the hooves coming on the horse, and they were delivering the mail on the Pony Express, and she would stand behind the little wall that had a peephole where your gun barrel would stick through, and she would just watch them, just totally amazed. And I thought, man, to the day of AI technology from the Pony Express, she's seen a lot of things in her life. So she lived a very full life. And when she went home to be with the Lord, it was nothing but amazing, and she did it in 100% style. We were literally, it was New Year's Eve, and we were over at Carolyn Sue's house, and I could just tell like something had changed, something had shifted. And so we were just kind of sitting there speaking. I was holding her hand on the bed, and somebody popped fireworks outside. I just heard going crazy, and we were all kind of like, "Oh, wow." And I looked over, and she was gone. And I thought, she's always done it in style, man.
Yeah.
She went out.
Just went out in a bang.
And if you know my family, you know we love fireworks. So she did it in style. But I just want to thank you guys for coming out and celebrating her life with us. If you wouldn't mind, just bow your head with me and pray. Father, I just thank you for all the friends and the family that have gathered here today, Father, in support of my family and my friends. Father, I thank you that they've come to celebrate the life of my grandma. And Father, let more than anything, let the testimony of her faith in you, Jesus Christ, be the thing that we would know her by. And Father, I thank you for your promises that we will meet again. We'll see her again someday on the other side, and we're thankful for that. Just thank you for for everyone that's come today. Father, go with them as they go from this place. I speak blessing